Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. We're here for the next hour to talk Giants football, 201-939-4513. Paul Dottino and Matt Citak. Now, we have a question for you today. It may not necessarily shake any bushes, so I'll also throw out there the fact that the rules changes are also being discussed at the owners' meetings over the next couple of days, too. And we'll give you the question first, but I do have one point I do want to make about the rules. In the meantime, as a reminder, if you don't catch this show live, you can always catch it on the archive as part of the Giants podcast platforms everywhere, giants.com/podcasts or the Giants mobile app. Our question today builds off of yesterday's question, of which we did not get any responses because people had other stuff to say, and that's perfectly fine. That's the beauty of this show. You have the freedom to talk about whatever you like, and even though we have a question of the day, you don't have to stick to it. So today's question is about the defense, and this one's actually a little more challenging than yesterday's question about the offense, because the Giants have a number of really good defensive players on their team who they can utilize in a variety of ways, as well as their sub-package. So in week one against the Washington Commanders down there on the road, down the Atlantic coast, the Giants are going to take on that team, and our question of the day today is which 11 players will have the most snaps on defense in the game against the Washington Commanders to open the 2025 season. And there are a couple of options here that could make this a little bit tricky, depending upon how Shane Bowen wants to construct this scheme. There's no doubt about that. It can get a little tricky. But before we get to that question and your calls, Matt, good morning.
Good afternoon.
That too. And it is a big week for the NFL because the spring meetings are taking place over 2 days. They're going to vote on 4 of the rules proposals that were put off from the last league meetings. There is just one that I want to address this morning. It is the most popular topic of the proposals, and I am emphatic about it. I'm not budging off of this in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, I will party and revel when the NFL owners decide to ban the tush push. I will be so happy. In fact, I can't wait for the first time that the Eagles have a 4th and 1 and it turns into a 4th and 11 because they get flagged for a 10-yard penalty for doing the tush push. Cannot wait for that day to happen. And I hope it's against the Giants, quite frankly. They need 2/3 of the owners to vote on a rules proposal. We already know it's only going to be 24 out of 31 because the Eagles in no way, shape, or form are going to vote for this. We already know that. That's a lock. Howie Roseman's already told people he's campaigning around the league to get people to vote against this proposal. Okay, fine. Good for you, Howie. There's no way in the world that this play should be allowed to exist. And I go back to the point that the most effective play, when you talk to a defensive coordinator and you ask a defensive coordinator, what is the best way to defend the play? And Pearson and I have talked about this many times. I don't think we have. We may have, but I don't think we have. The best way to defend the play is to send a defensive player as a missile across the line of scrimmage to go head up into the quarterback. That's the best way to defend the play physically. It's the best way to do it. That is also extremely dangerous. And if we're interested in the safety of the game, that is probably one of the most unsafe things that you could possibly do. On a snap or timing a snap, asking a defensive player to missile himself into the quarterback. We saw that happen in the playoffs last year. Resulted in intentional delay of game threats, okay, which is preposterous. So what you want to do, if you really want to talk about the safety of the game, you take out a play whose best way to defend it is an illegal, dangerous play. So if you really want to talk about safety, you outlaw this play, because there is no better way to defend it. And that has nothing to do with the Eagles' execution of it. It has to do with the defense's best play to defend it. It's a missile. To me, this is open and shut. There is no conversation in that room. You must ban this play in the interest of safety, which is what the league has been preaching now from the top of the Empire State Building for how many years? We're interested in player safety. That's what this is about for me. It's player safety. I don't care if the Giants were doing a tush push. I don't care if it was the Pittsburgh Steelers doing the tush push. It happens to be the Eagles. This is a safety issue. Now, Matt's probably going to shock everybody and say, I think it's a great play. I don't know what you're going to say. I don't care what you're going to say. This play needs to be outlawed. End of story. But please, you have the floor. You
don't care what I say? Should I just leave and let you take
the
mic for the full hour?
You are entitled to say the play should stay. If you'd like, you can certainly say that, but I'm not moving.
I didn't expect you to move, Paul. So, to be honest, I don't really care one way or the other about this play. I mean, you tell me that the play that our biggest rival, who we have to play twice a year, who they have made famous and have clearly perfected, as they all have a near perfect rate running the play and achieving either the first down or touchdown. So telling me that one of our biggest rivals, who we play twice this season, can't do that play anymore? Sure, I'm fine with that. My only counter argument to everything you just said, which has been the main counter argument for the people that are saying the tush push should not be banned, is that you said all that stuff about player safety. You look at the numbers, and there's no actual evidence to show that that play is any more dangerous than any other running play. It's not like that play has a higher rate of injuries. I mean, the Giants ran that play, 2 years ago? They had 2 players hurt. That was one of the only times I've ever seen someone get hurt on that play. So I understand you're not moving from your point. I'm not trying to convince you. All I'm saying is to preach that it's all about player safety, you kind of have to, I feel like, show that play is more dangerous than others. Just like the kickoffs we saw, there was statistical evidence that showed
concussions,
that kickoffs were leading to more concussions, and that was actually affecting player safety.
Okay.
For this play, the numbers aren't there. So you can say you don't like it and don't want it, and it might lead to injuries, but right now there's no evidence that shows that it actually does.
And the reason that there is no evidence is because it was not until this past year when defensive coordinators figured out that the missile was the best thing to do. They weren't trying the missile during the first few years of the Eagles' tush push. They were trying to defend it as a regular play.
But we see
short
teams do that missile play when another team has got the ball 3rd and goal on the 1 yard line, and they're just doing a handoff. You see teams still send a defender to leap over the line of scrimmage.
And if they're
so ban that.
Well, it is, because if the guy leads with his head as a missile, if he leads with his head as a missile, he's going to get a 15-yard personal foul. Yeah. That's the way the league calls it. So if on the tush push, teams now figured out this past year that the missile is the best way to defend it, well, now what are you doing? You're telling the defensive coordinator that the best chance you have to defend that play is illegal. We're going to throw a personal foul on it. That doesn't make any sense.
But even when those guys were leaping over the line of scrimmage, it's not like they were going in straight with their head. Like, their arms were up. Their arms would have made contact with the quarterback or running back before.
You're asking for trouble. I'm just telling you, you're asking for trouble. It is not a safe play the way coordinators are now going to be forced to defend it. They didn't think about it the first few years. They were trying to use a standard short yardage play, and they weren't sending missiles. Now they're sending missiles. We saw that at the end of last season. That's dangerous. You don't want defenders going headfirst as a missile at any time on the field. That's dangerous.
Of course, but no one is in support of sending defenders head first. Like I just said.
But that's
even
the way
that
it
example
works.
Even that example you just gave in the playoff game. What was it? What playoff game was it? I don't even remember.
It's the Philly game.
I don't remember who they were playing.
Was it Washington, Pearson?
I think it was. Yeah. Even in that game, I think it was like Bobby Wagner maybe he wasn't leading with his helmet every time he leaped over. It's not like you're like that the Simpsons meme where the character throws himself through the window head first. Like,
let's go back to the fact that you don't care which way it goes, because on that I can let you sit here without trying to
I'm just saying
put you in a microwave oven.
Paul, you're not putting me in any microwave oven. You're making a point that it's player safety, and just have no evidence to support player safety, that it affects player safety.
There's not enough evidence.
There is no evidence of it.
You start sending missiles.
The Eagles have been doing this. The Eagles have been doing this play for years,
and people, dude,
where is the injury evidence?
The missile has only been.
You keep talking about the missile.
Because that's what's happening. They didn't. Other teams didn't use missiles before, so of course
Troy
there's no
Polamalu
evidence.
Did that throughout his entire career.
Well, the league has done everything they can to get that out of the game.
But yet it's been
201-939
20 plus years.
4513 is our phone number.
Ban that then.
This is the Giants Podcast Studio presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Folks, we could talk about that if you like. I'm not moving off my stance. He's not going to move off his, and that's perfectly fine. We also have the question out today, which defensive players will get 11 defensive players will get the most defensive snaps in the opening game down in Washington. All right, we will go to the phones. First up, I see the lines are already burning up. I'm got a hunch they're probably going to want to talk more about the rules than they will our question. But we're going to start with Alex in Syracuse. You're first on the program. Hello.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Hi.
Good. What's up, Alex?
Hey, I was actually going to answer your question.
Sure.
I actually think the question from yesterday, the more I thought about it, I think that's even a harder question. So if we have time, I have an answer for that one, but I'll start with the one from today because I think it's interesting. So I think the 11 guys that are going to get the most snaps, because that's the question, right, in that first week against Washington?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think specifically because of Washington and Jaden Daniels, I think we're going to probably want to spy him. And so my guess is the 11 guys in no particular scheme are going to be Dex, Golston, Burns, Thibodeau, Carter, Okereke, McFadden, Adebo. I actually think Drew Phillips might get more snaps overall sort of in the slot than Banks does, and then Newbin and Holland. Those are the 11 guys on defense that I think might get the majority of the snaps.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are 11 very good choices.
My only.
We have some depth this year.
100%. The only thing I will say about that, the 11 you just said, at least up front, is I feel like you're not putting your best run defenders out on the field against a Commanders team that does like to run the football. You know, you're not putting Roy Robertson Harris or Darius Alexander. And Chauncey Golston is very good and very versatile, but he's obviously not that big run stopper in the middle of the defense. So that's my only concern about the 11 you just said. Those might be the most talented 11 players on this Giants defense. I'm not arguing with you that. But it just, with this matchup, and I agree with you on the spy thing. I do think there's a decent chance we see someone spying Jaden Daniels throughout the game, maybe Abdul Carter in his NFL debut. Mm-hmm. But they have Brian Robinson. They like to pound the rock right up the middle. And if those are the 11 that are playing the most snaps, I'm just a little worried about stopping the run against the Commanders. Then
I'm going to guess you didn't say Alexander because you're concerned as a rookie he may not be ready to give them a big load in the first game. Is that your thinking?
Sort of. Actually, I mean, definitely he was a consideration, but actually, it's actually more to Matt's point that, because I agree, Matt, I think that they are going to want to run, and I think there's going to be sub packages with Alexander and Harris, and I think we're going to see those guys. I actually just think, when I was leaning which way or the other, I actually think that whether or not Washington actually runs more pass plays than run plays in that first game, I think it's going to be close, and I think that. And maybe it's just me, but I think defensively, I'm more concerned about the threat of Jaden Daniels both running and throwing the ball, that I'm a little more willing to risk one or two more, 8-yard run plays than I am to put in the run package on first down and have them play action, throw it over our head. So I just think that, and I could be wrong, but because I agree, I think that there will be run packages in that game, but if the question is, who are we going to see the most, my instincts tell me we're more likely to see the passing defense to prohibit the ability for them to really open up the game on us that way.
Yeah,
that's a fair
try
point.
and play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to see more of a run offense, which is why I think my 11 on offense, we actually are going to get 2 tight ends in my top 11 as opposed to 3 receivers, which I know is also a little strange, but I think it's because we're going to try and control the tempo of the game running a little bit more and do the same thing defensively where we're going to try and control the tempo of the game by, again, allowing them to run maybe a little bit more on some level, but trying to limit the ability for them to sort of have Daniels run for 30 yards or throw it over our head.
You know,
That's
Alex,
sort of
ultimately, game flow will determine how they adjust their scheme during the course of the afternoon. And you're right. I tend to agree with your theory, but game flow is absolutely going to change it. I agree with you about the double tight ends. Everybody who knows me knows I'm a big double tight ends guy. I will never shy away from that. But I know there is a time and a place for it. And it depends on what you're trying to accomplish at that point in the game. And certainly, I'd love to see the Giants use a ton of double tight ends in the fourth quarter because that means they're going to pound the rock and they're going to milk a lead.
Yep.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how the game flow is going to go, but I love the way you're thinking.
Yeah, and I just think even if it's not overall double tight end sets all the time, which I think we might see, I just think it's interesting, man, this year, the depth is interesting. I think between obviously Theo coming back and Bellinger, who I think people are maybe sleeping on a little bit, and obviously Fedoni now, I think you have 2 tight ends that are really like pretty standard two-way tight ends that are blocking tight ends that can also catch the ball, and Bellinger and Fedone. And then you have like a more of a passing, tight end or receiving tight end and Theo Johnson, though he's not incapable of laying up a block. And so I just think that between the 3 of them, whether it's actually 2 tight end sets or not, I actually just think you're going to see 2 of those guys more snaps than you will see any sort of receiver other than maybe Neighbors, because I think they're going to rotate through Wandale and Slayton. I think some other guys are going to get a chance now too, maybe hopefully Hyatt. So I just think that in terms of overall snaps, not that I think we're going to see more double tight end sets so much as I think
the flex tight end,
more possibilities of getting higher numbers over the course of the game, no matter what the flow is on some level.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when we talk about using the 4 wide set or the 3 wide set, however you're going to make the combinations work in certain situations. The flex tight end situation is very interesting to me. I don't know yet. Theo Johnson, got that foot injury and missed the last part of the season last year. Mm-hmm. I don't know where they feel about his development, and we won't know until we watch training camp, as to how much they decide to use him as a flex tight end as opposed to an in-line. His curve, his learning curve, is probably going to determine that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's any doubt he's got the skill to do it. The question is, how much do you want to do it?
The other thing that I'll add, I'll leave on this. I'll let you answer it off air, and I'll let you guys get the rest of the callers. My other thought when I was thinking about your question yesterday on the offense, that again, just based on flow and all, it's an interesting question. The question between Tracy and Scatabo, first of all, I still think Tracy is going to be the number 1 running back. I think we're going to see a lot of Scatabo this year, and I think it's exciting to have sort of that thunder and lightning, for lack of a better term. But honestly, even if you go with me on the idea that Tracy is going to probably be the predominant running back, at least in week 1, then my question is, do we actually maybe get more Scatabo than, say, Darius Slayton or even Wandale Ross? You know what I mean? Because of all the different ways he can be used, and if we do maybe some more 2 running back packages, it's interesting to think about the weapons on this team in terms of tight end, receiver, and running back, and how many different ways they can all be used, and who's actually going to get sort of like the heaviest load of all of them. I think it's going to be pretty even, honestly. I think, which is nice. You're going to see a lot of guys on the field, but the question of who gets the most is interesting. It's an interesting question. So anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. And
Thank you, Alex.
I appreciate
Call
it.
again.
Yep.
Thanks, Alex.
What would you say if I built off of what he just said a second ago, and you get some of Scatabo on the field with Tracy and using Scatabo as an H-back on occasion? Because he's got the hands and the route running ability to do it.
They both do is the thing. That's why, we've spoken a lot about how Shane Bowen has all these pieces on defense now to get creative. Well, with Scatabo joining Tyrone Tracy in the backfield and both of them being such talented pass catchers, Brian Dable and Mike Kafka now have the opportunity to also be extremely creative with how they deploy the 2 of them, especially putting them both on the field at the same time. defenses won't know which one is going to, which one's going out for a pass, which one might be staying in the block, maybe send both out to run routes. So the offense has a lot of ability to get creative, having two running backs that are such good pass catchers as well as running the football. The only thing I will say about Scadaboo and his week 1 snaps is, as we saw last year with Tyrone Tracy did not play that much the first month of the season. It really wasn't until Devin Singletary got hurt that he really saw an expanded opportunity. Now, very different circumstances, because obviously Tyrone Tracy came to the Giants with only 1 year of experience playing the running back position. Mm-hmm. That's not the case with Scadaboo.
Right.
He's a lot of experience under his belt. But the fact that Devin Singletary is also still in that running back room, and he's a proven veteran that's been with Brian Daboll for a very long time, it would not surprise me if Scadaboo does not see that many snaps in week 1. I think come middle of the season, he will be, maybe even earlier than middle of the season, he will be in that role that, Alex, you were just talking about, where him and Tyrone Tracy are that 1-2 punch. There may be some weeks where Tyrone gets more carries. There could be weeks where Scadaboo sees more snaps, depending on game flow and just, who's got the hot hand. But week 1, given that he is going to be a rookie running back in week 1 with Tracy and Singletary there, it wouldn't surprise me if Scadaboo does not see the field that much in that season opener.
Yeah, Singletary's presence allows them to bring along Scadaboo slowly. Yeah. They don't have to rush him because they know Singletary's a pro.
Exactly.
And he knows everything there is to know about the position. So I'm with Matt on this one. I do think Scadaboo may be weaned in over the first month or so of the season, and maybe even a little longer. You just don't know how long it's going to take him. Look, he himself said to us at his media avail, I haven't taken an NFL snap yet. I haven't proven anything in this league.
Yeah.
Which, again, very modest approach for a guy who was, all that at Arizona State.
100%. Look, some guys develop quicker than others. Other guys take longer.
No doubt.
It doesn't, even if he doesn't see the field immediately that much, that doesn't mean he doesn't have the potential to have a, very long and promising career. The coaching staff will know when these rookies, when they're ready to really step into big roles, and barring injuries, we're probably not going to see the rookies that much until the coaching staff thinks they are at that point, which is what we should all be rooting for. No one wants to see a rookie get thrown out there before he's ready, because that's just not going to end well.
No. Charles in Pennsylvania, you're next on the program. Hello.
Hello, how y'all doing this morning?
Hi, we're well. How are you?
What's up, Charles?
I'm well. Going back to what you guys were talking about, the tush push with Philadelphia. I played high school football in New Jersey. I grew up in Bayonne.
Okay.
So we had a defensive plan against Jersey City whenever they would use that play.
Okay.
We would go in sometimes we would use an Engage 8 blitz, and that would stop them. But majority of the time, we used a goal line blitz.
Okay.
And that would,
who did you send?
90% of the time,
did you send a backer, a corner, a safety? Who did you send on the blitz? And what gap did he run?
He went in the A gap.
Okay, the A gap between the center and the guard. So it was probably your inside backer or a safety?
Yes.
Okay.
It was an inside safety.
Okay. That's it?
We 90% of the time would get them to stop. They would force a force. They would always go for it on third. That was the thing with them. We knew they were going for it on third.
Mm-hmm.
But they'd never go for it on fourth.
So
once we stopped them on third, they got that, all right, they stopped us, so now what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm. So how long?
And they gave that up eventually.
How long were they using the play in your league or even in non-league games before your coach decided, okay, we're going to try this particular scheme to stop them? Was it something that they were using over and over for 2 or 3 years, or was it something that they just came up with that year and you guys saw it on film and you came up with a play?
Honestly, they was on the spot. They used it that year, and our coach was like, listen, they're going to use this. This is what we're going to do.
Okay, so it was something they saw on film. It was not a long-term play. All right,
it wasn't a long time they were using it.
Right.
And my coach picked up on it immediately, and he was like, all right, this is how we're going to counter this.
See, and that's kind of where this is a little different than what's happened with the Eagles because they've been using this now for a few years. And there is a lengthy body of evidence that under conventional defenses, teams don't have a way to stop it. It's
Right.
something now that's happened, and only now, because of, again, the potential of the missile, does it look like there might be a way to effectively neutralize it more often than not. That's what rankles me. Now, if your team telling me that your coach saw something that just popped up quickly, in a previous game or something, that's a little different than, a body of a few years of opponents where this was now a part of their repertoire. So I commend him for coming up with something that stopped them. But if they only ran it in the game or two before you and then against you, that's not a lot of body of evidence that, indicates one way or another that his scheme would work on a regular basis. It might have worked in your game because they didn't see that defense ever before, and it was a one-time deal. If you had to do that over 3 years, my hunch is that just sending that conventional short yardage with the A-gap blitz probably wouldn't have done it.
No, it wouldn't have. Eventually, they would have figured out another way to get it done.
Exactly. Appreciate the call. Thank you, Charles.
No problem. Giants fan for life, man.
All right. Have a good one. Call
Thanks,
again.
Charles. Back to the tush push for a
Yeah,
second.
go ahead.
We just, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no other team around the NFL that has had close to the amount of success as Philadelphia running that play, correct?
Right.
There have been, just about every team has tried their version of it.
Right.
No one has had the same success. So do you think it's possible that maybe it's just the Eagles with, behind one of the greatest offensive line coaches in the NFL and behind a quarterback who squats up to 600 pounds, that maybe those are just big reasons why the play is so successful? Like, we're coming up with potential rules just to stop a play because one team is really good at it?
No. My reason is safety. This has nothing to do, I said before, I don't care which team was using it. It's not about their ability to do it. My issue is that the ability to do that play lends itself to something that is dangerous.
No,
that's my rationale. That's a little different.
I get you saying that, but I'm saying no one runs that missile play unless they're playing the Eagles. When other teams do those tush pushes, you don't really see that missile play that you're talking about.
I don't think anybody has used that missile play until what we just saw at the end of the season. And I think that's going to be the consequence if we don't stop it.
Let me ask you this. So you're talking about one instance where the Commanders did the same thing over and over again. It didn't even work. So you're saying you're basing your whole thing on what you think is going to happen around the league over one team unsuccessfully trying to stop the tush push?
I think the issue for me is that the Eagles, without the play, are probably going to convert almost all of their 4th and 1s anyway, because they've got the best offensive line in the game, have for a number of years, and a quarterback who's very strong and can get a good push on his own behind those guys. They don't need the tush push to get 80% conversions on 4th and 1s. They don't need it. So why are we allowing them to do it when it could lead to a dangerous play? They don't need it.
Again,
they're going to get the first down anyway using conventional offense. So tell them, use a conventional offense. Tom Brady was the most successful 4th and 1 quarterback sneak QB in NFL history. His ratio was something like 90%. The Patriots didn't use tush push. They used conventional quarterback sneak. Pearson, you know this.
Quarterback sneak next?
Right? Pearson,
Should we just ban the regular quarterback sneak?
No, because there was no dangerous play that was incited from it.
But your whole dangerous play theory is based on one team unsuccessfully trying to stop the Eagles in one series of one game.
Here's the problem.
I'm genuinely asking, why do you think because the Commanders tried that and failed that you now think that every team is going to try this?
Because I had already thought about this quite earlier, that's the best way to stop it, is to send a missile. I thought about that years ago, 2 years ago. I was like, I wonder why teams aren't doing this. I know why teams aren't doing it, because it's a dangerous play. They don't want to put one of their players in that position.
And because it only works if the guy times it perfectly.
Finally, Washington decided, the heck with all of this. We're tired of this thing going on like it's going on. We're going to send a missile. And I think that opens up a whole Pandora's box. This is a preventative, what I'm talking about here. You want to prevent the ugliness from occurring if you can. Don't wait till the bridge is already broken.
But
fix the bridge
if that's
before
the case,
it's
then
broken.
you need to ban sending that missile on any single play, on any short yardage
But that's what the league has virtually done.
No, it's not.
The league says we don't.
Because the situation that you're talking about was literally Bobby Wagner or whoever doing it 3 or 4 times in a row.
Yeah, but the league, as well as in the NCAA, because I do NCAA games, the emphasis that was given to the officials is to prevent players using themselves as a missile specifically. And when you jump forward like that across the line, your head's going to come first. It's very hard not to make that happen. Physiologically, your head, in more cases than not, is going to come first. It's a dangerous play. In high school, they banned it.
So
they
ban
banned it
the
in the
dangerous
NCAA.
aspect of it. Ban the missile launch then.
Well, but
instead of banning the thing that's actually dangerous, you're banning the play that teams would think about maybe using the dangerous play to try to stop. Just ban the dangerous part of it.
But that happens to be...
If you take the dangerous part out of it, then where's the danger in the play?
Well, that's the most effective play to ban. It's the most effective play to stop the tush push.
But
so what I'm saying is you get the tush push out of there so you don't have that play to deal with. That's all.
But there isn't even evidence to support that.
Again, there's no evidence because people didn't start doing it. You keep leaning on that, and that's an empty excuse.
It's not
Coach
an
Marvin,
empty excuse. You need evidence to make a point.
Line 3, John. Coach Marvin, you're next on the show. How's it going, Coach?
How you doing? All right.
Would you ever send your defensive players on a missile? Would you ever do that? Would you ever send one of your defensive players on a missile to stop a 4th and 1, quarterback sneak, tuck push, or anything else? Of course you wouldn't.
No, of
course you wouldn't.
And what happens sometimes when back in the day, you remember Walter Payton, them, they used to jump over the pile.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that jumping from the defense came from, is that they had to defend it. So the only way they can defend it is jump over the pile and meet him in the middle.
Right.
Jumping over to stop this tush push, it's not going to work because they have leverage. They're underneath the guy jumping, so he's never going to stop him. He needs to time him and hit him. But it's still a terrible play.
Of course it is.
Matt,
very dangerous.
You're wrong. I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Because the defense cannot push. They're not allowed to push their teammate forward. And if you look at it on the film, they have the offensive line is pinching. If you really look at them really good, the 2 guards are pinching down. So they're making a pinch like a V going towards the defender.
Mm-hmm.
So once they do that, then you have Hurts pushing, then you have the 2 guys on the inside pushing, and then you have a tight end behind them pushing. You have 3 levels of people pushing 2,
mm-hmm.
1 level of people. Because the linebackers cannot push the defensive linemen. That's a rule. They cannot push
mm-hmm.
them forward. And the rule is so crazy that it gives them a really advantage in doing what they're doing. Because the rule is still in the book. You cannot aid a carrier. You can't pull them forward, and you can't push them forward. That rule still exists. They just haven't upheld it. And 2, the other part, when you said nobody got hurt, no serious injuries have gotten hurt yet. But didn't John Michael get hurt doing that play?
I literally brought up that example.
Yeah,
where
he
the
and
Giants
Bellinger
were
got hurt.
The Giants are the one team where 2 guys got hurt.
Both of them did, yes.
Didn't Chris Jones get hurt in the Super Bowl on that play?
I don't remember that, Coach Marvin.
I do remember.
Was it?
He was on the sideline, and they were checking his neck because they pinched down. And you said that the Philly is the only one successful. That's not true. Buffalo is successful at it. They have a high rating.
No, I said Philly's by far the most successful, which the track record shows that is true.
They've been doing it the longest, and they have the highest percentage.
One is higher percentage than the other, but they both have high percentage compared to the NFL.
Yeah, you also just mentioned 2 of the teams that have the largest, strongest quarterbacks in the NFL. You don't think that has something to do with it?
It does, Matt. But you still got 3 levels of people pushing him forward
mm-hmm.
against 1 level of a defensive line.
I get that.
If me, John, and Paul was pushing you think you're going to stop us? That's not going to happen.
No, but Coach, I started this by saying I don't care one way or the other. All my argument with Paul was he was saying that it was a health and player safety issue. That was where my argument was that's just not really the case. If you want to talk about competitive imbalance and it being the rules leaning more towards the offense and the defense on that play, that I totally get. I was just arguing that you can't really be shouting player safety when there's no evidence to support that.
Well,
that was my point.
You're right. But the problem is, it's called preventing that from happening. Is it possible? Because everybody's going head first. That many guys in that one narrow area going back and forth. Do you believe that eventually could happen, or you believe it's a safe place play, period? Because the NFL and football, I don't care where you're playing. You play in the parking lot. It ain't going to be safe. I think guys played two-hand touch, and one broke his arm playing two-hand touch. So playing football is a physical game, and every play is a dangerous play. So you have to try to at least think about preventing it, because all you can find, it looks like rugby. They all are in one area, all of them.
Coach,
there's nobody on the outside.
I get that.
At all
I was saying is this play has been now in the NFL for years now. There's enough of a sample size where you should know if that play is, significantly more dangerous than you're just given your random normal NFL play. And this is just the evidence just shows that that's not the case.
Until the Eagles did it.
Yeah, but the Eagles have been doing it for years now, is what I'm saying.
What do you mean years?
Has it been 4 years?
Yeah, it's been about
since Jalen Hurts has been their starting quarterback.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years they've been doing it.
Well, you said when you say years, I'm thinking 10, 15 years.
No, but
I
mean,
take that.
4 years of a sample size. It's not like I'm talking about half a season of a sample size here.
Right.
4 years is and many teams across the league running the same play. That's enough of a sample size to really know if, just from the health wise, if like that play is causing way more concussions than your normal play. But this is not me speaking. This is doctors and evidence saying that that's just not the case right now.
Do you have the percentage of the other teams running that play? How often is that play run?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, but we've seen most teams run the tush push at some point.
No, I don't think most teams run.
I'm with you, Coach Marvin. Most teams don't run it. Very few teams do.
I don't think most teams
and they certainly don't run it as much as
teams
Philly does.
Yeah.
No.
I've said several times that Philly runs it by far the most.
All right, Coach, we can put you down to ban the play, right? We can put you down for that.
Play.
Okay.
One more thing with the people talking about the Giants winning 10 and 11 games, and then they got people saying they ain't going to do anything, they crappy. When they talking like that, especially when they say they're a crappy team, crappy coach, these people, the Giants can do nothing to make them happy.
Of course
now, the ones that are saying they're going to make 10 wins, 11 wins, whatever they're saying, my thing for them, stop jumping off to the 50th floor. You're a 50-story high. So when they don't win those, you're going to come tumbling down. So save yourself some heartache and just say, you know what? Let's see what happens against Washington. Let's just concentrate.
One game at a time, Coach.
One
right?
game at a time.
That's the mantra.
Right. I still love you, Matt.
Thank you, Coach.
Be good, Coach Marvin. Thanks for the call. 201-939-4513. We go to, is it Randy in Montana? You want to talk about Evan Neal? Okay. That's a bit off topic, but we'll go right ahead.
Hi, guys.
What's going on?
I called you about a year ago, and we were talking 40 below zero snow. So that was fun. I had a question about Evan Neal.
Yeah.
I'm really sad for the guy because he doesn't seem like he's gonna make it, and I'm hoping he does. But what is the Giants' contingency at that guard position? Because if he's unable to follow through, do we have depth at guard right now?
Well, they've got a host of guys in that offensive line room. We've talked about it. GVR's back, and you were always a fan of his, and rightfully so. He turned out to have a good season.
He was the most consistent offensive lineman for the Giants last season.
So he's back. Stinney is back. Azudu is back.
Austin Schlottman, who's backup center, who missed a lot of last year, but the Giants signed him to a 2-year contract last offseason. He missed most of the year, but he's back.
Morrissey's here.
Jimmy
Kubas
Morrissey.
is here.
They drafted Marcus Bowe in the 5th round, which obviously a lot of people are high on that pick. There's certainly depth now.
And of course, Runyon's on the other side. They got a slew of guys who can play interior line right now. Now, of course, we got to see the level at which they play.
Of course.
But there is a real salad bar full of guys in that room.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. I mean, I followed the draft. They did an awesome job on the draft. Just awesome. So everything's looking up. But,
yeah.
The other question, and it's been like that for years now for me, being up here in Montana, we're not exactly around L.A. anymore, so you don't have the options I used to have. I can't watch Giant games up here. I get maybe what's on, the major networks, if you can call them that, like Fox or whatever, if they show up.
Right.
I think I saw 4 games maybe.
Yeah, 3 prime timers. I know that's tough.
I'm a massive hockey fan, and all I have to do is, get the app on the TV and turn around, and if they're playing that night, I can watch it live, or if they're out of market, I can watch it a day later or a day and a half later, so I can see every game. When is the NFL? Do you see it in the future? Or are they going to continue to be really greedy, and charge exorbitant amounts and force people to buy the entire league instead of doing team by team? I mean, I'd spend $100 a year to be able to see the Giants. It's really brutal. You follow this stuff, and then you're sitting there in the dark, and the best you got is, a 10-minute replay of the game. And it's
Understood.
Really frustrating.
It's tough because you get a broadcast company or a streaming company that says, okay, we want the exclusivity to sell the whole package. And they pay a huge premium for that. And so now they're going to turn around and they're going to charge a huge premium to sell the whole package. They're not going to be interested in breaking it up. I understand your point, and I'm sure there is some marketing genius somewhere who's sitting around in an office and figuring out, well, if they did break it up in a team by team, this is the revenue they can expect. And if they don't, this is what they expect. And that's why they come to the decision they come to. This is an economic thing. This has nothing to do with anybody wanting or not wanting you to get the games. It's about how are they going to maximize the profit. I hate to say it, but that's what it is. It's business.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I understand. But if the NHL is pretty darn popular, especially with the Stanley Cup. And I'm an older guy now, and I used to watch Bobby Orr in Boston when I was a kid. I've followed the Giants since I was 8 years old. I used to say very bad things to the television set when the Patriots showed up.
Randy, what I'd like them to do?
Anyway.
Here's what I'd like the league to do. And I think this is actually a really, really good idea, but I don't think they want to take the time or the expense to do it. You got a slew of games on Sunday, right? And by the time the Sunday night game is over, 11:30, roughly?
For us, yeah.
Okay. And then they do the post game and they do the wrap up with the highlight shows. I would love to see the NFL run a 1-hour edited, condensed version of every game. Okay, I'm not saying run the whole game in its entirety in full because it would take too much time to do it. But go to NFL Network, all right? I'd love to see them either broadcast on NFL Network, let's say starting at 1 a.m. in the morning, and every hour give you a 60-minute version of every game that was played on Sunday. And you could do it in order of when they were so people could set their DVRs or whatever it is that they want to set. Yeah. So you could get a 1-hour version. Or for that matter, if you didn't want to do it that way on NFL Network, maybe have some type of lesser subscription, right? A less expensive subscription to a link that you could go to on NFL.com, all right? And maybe do it that way. Now, as it stands now, you could buy the NFL Game Pass at NFL Plus, okay? And it usually takes, how long is it, Matt, before they put the game up? It takes a little bit. It's not up right away.
For
an archive game.
It
takes a little time. Yeah. It's not up right away.
That's just radio. No.
You can get the video. If you get NFL Plus with the Game Pass is built in, you can watch the entire game on video. I don't know how many hours it is after the game is over. They pump it up. You can get it.
Yeah, you can. I don't think it's like immediately once the game is over.
No, I don't think it's right away. I don't think they're that quick. But it's a few hours later.
I got NFL Plus at one point, and
right.
All I could get out of it was radio. And when I got Bob Papa,
take a look.
I heard Bob Papa. It was great, and then halfway through the game, good night. It just went bye-bye. It wasn't reliable then. But that could be because it was new.
Okay, the new NFL Plus, which they just revamped it last year, and they made it a whole lot better, by the way. They say here, get access to full game replays shortly after the final whistle. They don't indicate exactly how much time is on delay. It used to be a while. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But quite frankly, I'm sure it's by the next day. I mean, if the game is Sunday and, you have a chance to watch it Monday, if that's okay with you, I would recommend this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll look into it, fellas. Well, I thank you for that. Because,
yes, sir.
I pretty much gave up on it.
No, I don't think you have to give up on it. That's a way to do it. I just don't know how quick it is. That's all. But they do have the games on there eventually.
Okay,
thank you, Andy.
Well, it's not snowing and the birds are singing and the grass is green, so life is good.
And you're not snowed under an ice cap, so that's even better.
That's right.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate the call.
Thanks, Randy.
201-939-4513. Yeah, I don't know because obviously we're so busy after our games are over. I don't know how quickly they put them up. I know that by the next morning, for sure, the game is already up there. That I can guarantee you.
If you want to watch the games out of market in the moment, I mean, Sunday Ticket is always an option.
Right.
It's obviously not the cheapest option.
You got to buy the whole league, too.
Of course, but, if you're living in Montana and want to watch the Giants every single week, if you want to watch them live, that's probably your best way to do it.
All right, folks, you could also, of course, watch the Giants by getting a season ticket membership. If you want to come out here to MetLife Stadium, you can get exclusive access to different things and obviously be attached to the Giants all season long. For information on a Giants season ticket membership, visit giants.com/tickets. And obviously, again, Pearson, anything new going up on the huddle today? Or John, either one of you can shout it out for us. Or is it still the same stuff that you... Come on, hey, folks, here's Pearson. Look at this.
I don't know.
There he is. There he is.
We later this week we'll have Marcus Satterfield. Like I said, he is the coach of Bedoni, and then we got more coaches like that coming up. I think early next week we have Embo's offensive line coach from Purdue.
Oh, so, that'll be interesting.
And do we have another Baldy breakdown going up today? All week. We have
new ones.
Brian Baldinger yesterday. The Abdul Carter one went up, and then for the rest of the week, I guess leading into next week as well, or over the weekend, there will be one for all the rookies. I think the last couple of guys were condensed into one episode, but there will be an episode covering every single one of the Giants draft class.
His Scatterboo one must be nuts.
I have not watched it yet, but I'm sure it is.
He's probably drooling all over the camera. 201-939-4513. We love Baldy. He's the best. We go to Dan in the Poconos. You're next on the show. Hello.
Guys, how you doing?
Hi, Dan.
Good. What's up, Dan?
You can hear me okay? I pulled over. I'm in my car, but I pulled over, Paul, so I'm safe.
Thank you. I'm glad.
All right. Listen, I just want to, I know I called before Coach Marvin called up, and I know Coach Marvin knows more about football in his pinky finger, than I do in my whole body, even though I've been a diehard Giants fan since the 70s. But I did want to touch, before I just make my comment about the tush push, just a quick couple of shout-outs. It's great hearing JC. I hope he can maybe get in there one day a week, maybe when the season starts. It's always great listening to him. Love having Lance back too, and I know he drives you crazy, but Wilson is. I shout out to my boy Wilson over there in Roxbury. I know he's crazy, but he had me over like it was about 5 years ago when people were complaining about they were afraid to wear their Giant colors at the Eagle game. Wilson remembers this, and he was saying something about, we're going to go out in the parking lot. We're going to take care of things. I was like, and they were like, no, can't talk about that. But anyway, so shout out to that crazy son of a gun over there. But so the reason I wanted to call up,
what do you got?
Is because when Lance, not Lance, because it reminded me, you guys, when you were talking to Matt, that it reminded me of like the not quite the whatever the word is that you guys used to have with Lance, the disagreements. What the point was, Matt, is that, maybe, okay, they've been doing it for a few years, but if I was reading Paul right, his point is like, okay, even though they've been doing it for a few years, maybe now they finally figured out, okay, that this so-called missile might be the way to defend it. So we're doing, like Coach Marvin said, preventative. So we're trying to think ahead, not basing it on evidence, but looking ahead and saying, okay, somebody is going to get hurt because we finally figured out the only possible way of stopping this thing is to send somebody in there head first, and God knows what's going to happen. So, being a Giant fan, I want this thing banished, never to hurt them
Don't
again.
let Giant fandom get in the way, Dan. Don't do that. Don't let Giant fandom get in the way. This is not about the Eagles. This is about the play. Up until that point, I was with you 100%. But once you get the teams involved in the discussion, that's where it gets lost. We can't talk about this as a team thing. This is a play.
Right.
This is a play. Keep it to the play and the safety of the play, and you got me 150%. We're all on the same page.
We're ganging up on you, Matt.
It's okay. I can take it. Look, I understand. I understand all of your guys' points. My only, I guess, counter argument. I don't even want to call it a counter argument. Just counterpoint would be that the situation that you guys all keep bringing up with the missile, it's not like that was used often when the Eagles or other teams were trying to run the tush push. That was something that we saw. Paul mentioned saw it once at the very end of the season, one of the last games of the season. We saw one team try it, and it was not even successful. Like, if that team, the Commanders, did it and stopped the Eagles, then I'd be like, you know what? Maybe you got a point. We could see that a lot more. But it didn't even work. So I just think to ban a rule because you think some teams might try something that in the very limited, small sample size that we've seen, it didn't even work, that is what I'm just like, I don't think that is the reason to ban a play that literally caused, and this was Troy Vincent at the end of the season said that the tush push caused 0 injuries during the 2024 season. That is all I'm trying to say. If you I prefaced this whole thing by saying I don't have a strong opinion to ban it or to keep it. I just don't like using reasons that don't really fit as the reasoning to ban the play. You want to talk about competitive imbalance? Sure, I get that. But to use like we're trying to prevent potential future injuries for something that we barely even saw already, that is the only thing where I'm like, that just doesn't sit right with me.
You might consider this. The horse collar was legal for a long time, and not too many people got hurt from it. And then they finally decided, you know what? There's too much of a risk there. We got to stop injuries. They're going to happen at some point. We've allowed this damn play for a long, long time. We're getting it out of the game. And they took it out. Same thing what we're talking about here. Right? Okay. Same thing we're talking about here. The horse collar was legal for a long time, and just because somebody didn't get crippled, it's okay? No. You got to prevent it. Same thing.
But I think, again, as I said this before, I think then if you want to ban the tush push, fine, but then ban the whole play of a defender being able to leap over the line of scrimmage. That has to be banned too, because that's the actual dangerous component of the tush push play that you're talking about. So if you want to ban the tush push, ban that altogether. I don't want to see a single defender then leaping over the line of scrimmage before the ball is hiked.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, these guys are smart guys, the owners and coaches, so hopefully they do the right thing, and let's go Knicks.
All right, thanks, Dan.
All right, guys.
All right, we got another out-of-town caller coming from California. Bless you, Pearson. Marquise in California is next on the show. Hello.
Hello. First-time caller, long-time listener.
Well, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
I've been listening to the show for a really long time. I wanted to just talk about my optimism for the Giants. We added five key additions to the defense, and that improves our second cornerback as well, which is huge. My bold prediction is that the Giants are going to allow 4 points less. I want to hear what you think about this.
Okay.
4 points less on defense, and then 7 points more on offense, as an average for the whole season. I think I was looking at it. I didn't think that the defense was that closely stacked.
So you're talking about 20 points a game defensively, and you're talking about 23 points a game offensively. Those are the numbers you're looking for, right?
Yes. I think that I thought it would be more until I looked at looked at it as a league. But I think 4 points on defense, and we're going to score 7 more points on offense, coming from the defense. More opportunities, better quarterback play. Hopefully, our left tackle stays on the field. No sprinting. We let them score the touchdown. We need them for the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say. It's hard to do actually, because he's competitive. But these sprinting down the field has caused 2 seasons of injury. But if we could keep our best players on the field, and barring injury, I think we are a playoff team regardless.
Well, if you score 24 a game and only give up 20 a game, you certainly have a really good chance to be above 500, or at least at 9 wins, if not more.
I mean, if the Giants give up exactly 4 points less per game than they did last year, they would be tied for the 8th best scoring defense in the NFL.
And that's reasonable.
And I do think the Giants having a top 10 scoring defense, that is, a realistic goal for the season, given all the talent that is on the defense. Now, on the other side of things,
I mean, our defense is going to take us there.
Yeah, on the other side of things, if you add 7 points to last year's offense, obviously the Giants' offense, scoring-wise, was one of the worst in the league last year, 16.1 points. So you add a touchdown, 23.1, then all of a sudden, at 23.1, you have the 13th best scoring offense. If you have the 13th best scoring offense and a top 10 defense, you are, in the very least, contending for a playoff spot, most likely.
Now, remember something. Yeah. When the Giants went to the playoffs in 2022 and they won 9 games, they averaged 21.5 points a game. Okay? So you're asking now for 23 or 24 points a game, which is even more than they did during their 2022 season when Daniel Jones had his best year as the Giants quarterback. So what you're saying to me now is, even without Saquon Barkley, okay, but they do have Malik Neighbors. Jones now is not here, so Russell Wilson's going to be the QB. Offensive line, still kind of not sure exactly what that offensive line is going to bring. Your hope is that they can do better than the 2022 offense. Possible. I don't think that's crazy, especially if you're only asking for a point or 2 more a game. That's not crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you did mention, and you're right, that was Daniel Jones' best season, but I think it's important to remember that even with it being his best season, he only threw how many touchdown passes that season?
Was it
15?
I was going to say 16, 18?
14, 15, 16.
Like that.
I think it was,
he didn't throw 20, I'll tell you that.
I think it was 14 or 15, and then he added another 7 on the ground. So even in his best season, those numbers aren't necessarily lighting the league on fire.
The receiving core wasn't.
No, for sure. And obviously Malik Neighbors is now here.
Yeah.
There's no Saquon, which that obviously, no disrespect to anyone in the running back room now, but Saquon obviously just showed
that's a big
he's
deal.
Probably the best at his position in the NFL, if not one of the best. So there are pluses in some areas, minuses in others, but I do think the offense this year could definitely be better than the 2022
I think
offense.
the one thing that makes me think that's reasonable is that much like that offense did not give the ball up because Daniel Jones was very good at ball security that season, Russell Wilson is too.
Yep.
So that certainly gives you one foundation to hang your hat on. If you think that the offense can get you somewhere between, let's say, 21 and 23 or 24 a game, that doesn't sound nuts because if you're not going to give away the ball, that goes a long way into helping you be more productive. Is that all?
I also wanted to say I think our running game is going to be special this year. It's going to open up for the passing game, and I would like to see Turbo Miller get an opportunity. Like not just like sprinkle here, sprinkle there, because between the 1-2 punch, Turbo Miller, I think, especially like in the fourth quarter, when the defense is tired, you get that fast guy out there. I think he could make something special happen.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Turbo Miller.
Thanks, Marquise.
I like his chances of maybe sticking as the fourth back. He's going to fight it out. I mean, we know Gray is still here.
Yep.
And while it's been a rather dismal opening start to his pro career for his first 2 seasons, he was a mid-round draft pick. They had a lot of high hopes for him. I will tell you though, I have a lot of curiosity about Turbo Miller. I just that sub 4.3 speed is something that you just can't teach. Now he's raw, and he's gonna have to show a lot more in training camp in terms of the nuances of the game, how to set up his blocks, how to read defenses, and how to make cuts and slashes. Because right now, his best asset is his straightaway speed. But as you guys know, when you play football, it's not just about straight ahead speed. There's a lot more that goes into it. He's also going to have to learn, make sure that when he shows these guys in camp that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. That's going to be a big deal too. He hasn't had a lot of chances to do that when he's here. Even in camp last year, he had flashes, but then once the season started, he didn't play. And so we really don't know how far along he's coming. But I'm curious about him.
Yeah, I was going to say, we did see last summer, he flashed at times.
He did.
We saw that speed, and not just the straightaway speed. Like, we saw him what term to put, shiftiness, elusiveness, like that quickness.
Shiftiness is good. Well, I call it the jukeability.
Yeah, we saw that.
He's got some jukeability.
We saw flashes of it. Now, given all of the bodies that are in the running back room now, I don't think I'm going on a limb saying he's got a bit of an uphill battle.
Yeah.
In order to make the team. We also just don't know how many running backs are ended up making the final roster, but we know for sure Tyrone Tracy, Cam Scatterbo are going to be on it.
Yep.
Chances are Singletary. I mean, probably.
I would think so.
And then it's like, do you even bring a fourth running back? And if so, Eric Gray, Turbo. There's a couple of undrafted rookies that were signed after the draft this year.
Yeah.
So he's going to have competition, but I will say he will have opportunities this summer in training camp, in the preseason. As we know, preseason especially, the starting players, guys that are locks for the team, don't get a whole ton of playing time.
Tracy
for the most
won't
part.
see many snaps.
Turbo is going to get his chances, and we'll just have to see what he does with those opportunities. But he's going to get a chance. He's got to make the most of it.
Yeah, no question. I'm looking forward to watching him because I hope there's a progression. I think at the very least, I'm going to tell you this now, I'd like to see him stay in the building. If he doesn't make the 53, I hope he clears waivers and gets to stay in the practice squad.
Same. I mean, last summer we were talking. He was one of the players I feel like you, me, John, we're all most excited to see.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that.
All right, folks, that'll do it for today's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Thanks for being with us for the past hour. Again, you can go to the archive, check out today's show if you like, or you can just come back and join us tomorrow. We are live every weekday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time for 1 hour at 201-939-4513. For Matt Citak, I'm Paul Dottino. We'll see you next time.